Hello and welcome back. In this video, we're going to learn how to install Docker inside of a Docker container. That's crazy, don't you think? Well, let's explain this a little bit more in detail. If we do Docker PS, well, now I don't have anything running, so let's go and start our services using Docker Compose start, and that's going to start all of our containers. You probably know that the Git server actually needs a lot of resources, so I'm just gonna stop it because we're not gonna be using it for now. So let's say docker stop Git server, and we're gonna stop it. So now we want to install Docker inside of the Jenkins container. So if we go inside of the Jenkins container, as we already know, and we type docker ps, we have nothing in here. But you may be wondering, why do we need to install Docker inside of this Docker container? Well, and it's super simple because, as I told you in the introduction, we're going to build Docker images using Jenkins. So it's going to save us a lot of time if we can type Docker commands in here like docker build or docker compose, all of this stuff. So that's why we're going to install Docker inside of this Docker container. This is a normal practice, don't worry. Most of the times you are going to find this in real environments, and even if you read the Jenkins documentation, you're going to find out that they actually use Docker inside of Docker. So let's learn how to do this. Well, the first thing that we need to do is, of course, create a Docker file to install Docker. Okay, as you remember, we had a folder which was the pipeline folder. I renamed that folder to pipelines Jenkins file, and in here we have all of this stuff that we learned in the previous section. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and create a new pipeline directory, and in here I'm gonna create a new Docker file inside of this pipeline. So let's go ahead and create a Docker file in here, and I will leave you this file, which is the Docker file that we're going to be using. If you remember, we already did this in the Ansible section, and this code actually installs pip and then Ansible. So we already knew this, so we're gonna keep it because remember that we need Ansible to run some things. And below this, we're going to start installing Docker. Remember that the Jenkins image is actually based on Debian. How do you know that? Well, you can always go to your terminal. Let me go out of here. Let's go inside of the Jenkins container, and you can check it by doing something like lsb release. Well, we don't have that command in here, but if you type cat etc os release, you can see that this is actually Debian. So that's why we're using Debian commands in here. So you can just go ahead and read the Docker documentation, and you're going to find out the way to install Docker in Debian, and this is exactly the way. So we're actually installing some packages in here. We're adding the Docker repository in here, and finally we update the repositories and we install Docker